Curt Cignetti's going to leave for Penn State. No, he's not. It's not even a better job anymore.
I thought Penn State was going to lose anyways.
Joe Brady is a name that I don't think is being out there.
Notre Dame, I have as the 5th best team in the country right now.
Auburn seemed like they just died after that happened.
As Gorilla Monsoon used to like to say, they've got the intestinal fortitude. They did not profile like a 10-win team. They profiled like 7-win type teams. I can't wait to let 18 and 22
I made a call, to Vegas. I said, look, we actually need to pay for your.
Back again, Bear Bets Podcast, Monday, weekend rewind / week look ahead. Geoff Schwartz, Sammy P join me as always. And guys, I'm glad that there's nothing to talk about both on and off the field this week.
I hope Penn State fans understand that you're not going to find many coaches better than James Franklin. Sammy, I hope they get this.
Well, all they're worried about is beating Iowa. And guess what, Bear? Iowa, a 3.5-point favorite against Penn State. My, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, it's unbelievable to think that, well, I guess, what was it now, 17 days ago? Penn State was, number 3 in the country. They led Oregon in overtime with the big comeback on the precipice of finally getting that win. And then 17 days later, you've lost 3 in a row, and now you are out of a job. I was surprised it happened now. I do understand the whole why wait to do what you can do now when it's. I think it was just more about the situation being toxic, but with the fan base expecting more and wanting more. But at the same time, I just don't. They clearly have to have somebody in mind to have done this now, then wait the regular season, because it's now your season. It's over. Aller is hurt, and we weren't necessarily high on Penn State, giving them the national title, lauding like a lot of people were. But I certainly didn't expect this.
I didn't expect it either, because I thought James Franklin had built up enough goodwill to let him ride through the rest of the season. But I know Drew Aller got hurt, but what if they just finish strong? We don't know. What if they upset Indiana when Indiana comes to town at some point this season? I just don't know what the end was going to be. Obviously, they felt like it was not going to get any better. It was only going to get worse. Now Drew Aller's out, so the end of the season basically feels like it's here. And maybe if we end up firing him now, we give ourselves the opportunity to go find a coach behind the scenes. We know how this works, right? Agents are being called to figure things out. We line someone up. But also there's other things to consider here, right? We don't know what happened in the locker room. I don't think he lost the locker room, but we don't know that. And, recruiting matters, Bear. And there were decommits happening this last couple of weeks for some of their top talent. I wonder if that played a role in the firing, but I still think it's rather shocking, Sammy, that this is done now. I get it, sort of. But I'll give you the warning again. Are you going to find a better coach to come to Penn State than James Franklin? We know he had shortcomings. We know he couldn't win the big one. But I don't see a lot of names out there on these lists that inspire me that you're finding someone better than James Franklin.
But they're embarrassing. That's why they made the switch. I mean, UCLA was the laughingstock of college football. We were talking about them not winning a game, and Penn State loses to that team. And then you follow that up losing to Northwestern at home. It was the first time in 30 years where a program has lost 2 straight games as a 20-point favorite. There's the graphic right there as I speak. Great job by the graphics team right here on the show. You cannot lose games like this if you want to be an elite program. And as we've learned, this NIL, all the money going around, all the portal stuff, the sport is changing before our very eyes. And here's going to be a very hot take. Oh, Curt Cignetti's going to leave for Penn State. No, he's not.
No, he's not.
It's not even a better job anymore, guys.
No, there's no indication that it is a better. It's just amazing to think that whatever that college football semifinal game was, January 8th, no, whatever the hell date was, they are a slip by a defensive back away when Notre Dame completes that catch and run to go all the way for playing for the national championship. And Sammy, to build on that note about the 20-point favorite line, I think I saw a note this week as well that 20-point favorites this year in college football, or at least maybe in the Power Four. We're something like 67-0. All other teams except for Penn State, and Penn State was 2-2. It was something along those lines. Like they're the only 20-point favorite to lose, which is amazing. And now you look at the odds to be the next coach out there, and again, if Matt Rule is the favorite, then look, I love Matt Rule. What he did at Temple was great. What he did at Baylor was great. And now Nebraska's back in the national rankings. But to fire James Franklin, who was 4-21 versus top 10 teams, won a Big Ten title there, got you to the college football playoff semifinal, had however many 10-win seasons in a row, to fire him and to think like Matt Rule is the guy you're going to go after, a guy who I think he's lost 18 straight games against ranked opponents. Like, look, I get he's a Penn State guy, and you're not all because he's lost 18 straight games in Nebraska against ranked teams doesn't mean it's going to happen if he goes to Penn State. But that's like a hard sell. Again, I don't know anything, but I have an idea out here. I'm just going to throw at you. I wouldn't be surprised if behind the scenes, Pagula, obviously owner of the Bills, big money guy, is kind of the one footing the bill for most of the buyout. And maybe there's some things going on behind the scenes where it's like, hey, I'll ante up the buyout money, but Joe Brady's going to be our next head coach. So I don't know if that's going on, but there's a connection there between Pagula and Penn State, and obviously Joe Brady, how great he was at college at LSU, and now with the Buffalo Bills, offensive-minded head coach. I mean, that's the biggest thing about Penn State right now is people are so aggravated about the lack of development at the quarterback play and on the offensive side of the ball. If I were these betting markets offshore, you can bet $15 probably on it, but Joe Brady is a name that I don't think is being out there publicly as much potentially as it might be if you kind of maybe read the tea leaves a little bit.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't sound impressed by that, Geoff.
I mean, it's a good theory, but I'm Joe Brady didn't call plays, right? They had another offense coordinator at LSU, so like the idea that was his offense is just not there. He's been an OC with the Panthers for 2 years, and obviously with Buffalo now for I think a year and a half, right? So, okay, Sammy, fire James Franklin for Joe Brady. I maybe it works out. I saw someone say this, and look, I'm not going to take credit for thinking of this myself. You know, they're hoping this is the Mark Richt firing at Georgia, right? You bring in Kirby Smart, and you have that upgrade, and you win a championship. They're hoping that's the case. And that's what they're hoping happens here. And so we'll see if it happens. What about Matt Campbell? Is Matt Campbell, I feel like he's probably next up outside of Matt Rule, and he would take that job if they offered it to him. I think he has more of an NFL mind on the NFL. I don't know that for sure, but I kind of get that sense. I think he's pretty happy at Ames right now. But
what about Nick Saban, Bear? What about Urban Meyer?
Oh yeah, Urban and Nick. I think they're both going to fight it out to see who can leave their cushy college football analyst job right now on a pregame show to go back and deal with the NIL era and conference expansion and all that. Yeah, that sounds great. The other analogy, Geoff, you just put a good college football one out there with Richt and Kirby Smart. Like the John Calipari at Kentucky, I think is another spot that it reminded. Cal had a ton of success at Kentucky, especially early on, winning a national title, and then it just never got there again. And I think that might have been James Franklin won the Big Ten in 2016. Never happened again. And I think it's a pretty good analogy. Although now Jimmy Sexton doesn't have to look for a soft landing spot for James Franklin like he did Calipari.
Yeah, I imagine Franklin just doesn't coach us here, right? It just sits out and ends up just doing TV, Bear, and whatnot. I don't know. I'm curious what he does.
Who says no to this, by the way? Things we talked about this on Bruce and the Bear on Friday, and I think we talked about it here last Monday as well. Who says no? North Carolina gives Bill Belichick a soft landing spot, a little off ramp. Hey, didn't go like we thought. We're gonna allow you to retire, resign, weren't cut out for it, however you want to phrase it. Bring in James Franklin, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Who says no to that?
I think everyone says yes to that. I don't know why. The question is, does Franklin want to coach next season, or does he want to do
probably does
the TV job for a year? And he'd be great at the TV job for a year.
He would be.
And so I don't know. It's curious to see. I did bet Iowa before the news, so Iowa played really well last weekend. This game is a home game for Iowa. I thought Penn State was going to lose anyways. This goes one of two ways, right? It either gets worse, which is shocking to say, or it gets better. Sammy, I think it gets worse. What about Penn State makes you think they're going to win many games the rest of the season?
I don't know what's going to happen the rest of the way. I don't know what the team is like. I don't know if they're going to quit. I don't know if it's going to combust from the inside. I have no idea there. But I think what Penn State should do is do its diligence on Bob Chesney. Bob Chesney has won everywhere he's been. And he, ironically enough, took over for Cignetti at James Madison. This guy wins. He's young. The players love him. If you're looking for a longer shot, I'm not saying he's the best option, Bear. But if you want to go outside the room and find somebody that people are not talking about, Bob Chesney could be a guy. He's 75-1. I love this guy as a coach. I think he deserves every opportunity. Not saying he's going to get it, but that would be my pick of the litter way down the board.
And you look at the Penn State schedule coming up: at Iowa, underdog; at Ohio State, massive underdog; home against Indiana, underdog; Michigan State's terrible. They go there. Who the hell knows? So, like, a funny little aside to this is you got to go back to 2004 to find the last time Iowa had Penn State rather had a losing record through 7 games. And the 7th game that year in 2004 was that epic 6-4 loss to Iowa. So
wow.
And now game 7 this week, this year is at Iowa. So it's a little funny there, but we mentioned Indiana there. I don't think any of us saw that coming at Alton this week. I know Sammy liked IU on the number, to a little bit on the money line, took a plus the points as well. It was not a fluke. Was I maybe a little high on Oregon? Yeah. Was I maybe a little low on Indiana? No, there's no maybe. I definitely was low on Indiana, but that was a game start to finish that Indiana's defense dominated. Oregon looked slow and out of sorts, and Dante Moore was confused. They couldn't really run the ball. And to think, Geoff, it was sitting there in the fourth quarter, tie game 2020 after a pick 6, and you're like, okay, Indiana, it's going to be one of those. They go, they battle, nearly have the program and perception-changing win, and then Oregon's going to come back and extend the home winning streak, and they're going to win. And then just went right down the field after the pick 6 and took the lead, got a stop, kicked the field goal to seal it, and that was that. Not a fluke. And I guess the response here in the post-game chatter and looking forward now, did we miss the boat on Indiana to win or certainly to make the college football playoff? Yes, but are they a legitimate title contender? Is there still a bet to be made there on the Hoosiers?
I don't know why they wouldn't be a title contender. Looking at the field right now, right? Ohio State, Miami, Indiana. Who else? I mean, I know people will fall in love with Texas Tech, but they're just not going to win a championship. And it is a year when maybe a team like Texas Tech could be in the hunt. But look, what Indiana does so well is their scheme. Like they play just so well together. Dante Moore was lost the entire game. They had no opportunity. We rushed for 6 yards a carry with our running backs. I mean, that's a winning number in any game. Dante Moore just wasn't good. They confused him all game. Their staff had a great plan. And then Mendoza just does what he does well. He hits those balls to the sideline. Those wide receivers are fantastic. They don't turn the ball over. They had one bad turnover. I get it, but for the most part, they don't turn the ball over. They just run what they do very well. And they're just as good as anyone else. I mean, they play Ohio State right now. That game's going to be a battle, right? You play Miami right now, that game's going to be a battle. So I think they're easily, Sammy, in that discussion, as a top 3 contender to win the championship.
I wouldn't bet them at 9-1, though. I mean, clearly you've missed. You missed the move on that one, betting 9-1 off of the marquee win of maybe their program's history. I think everybody's going to warm to that idea, and that's fine. I just wouldn't bet 9-1. Look, Alabama, I warmed to that idea on Thursday after our show about Alabama against Mizzou, and it really upset somebody on the YouTube comments page. Very upset that how could I not like Alabama? And then I put them out in my newsletter. I'm allowed to change my mind. Last time
exactly.
Ty Simpson made some throws in that game against Mizzou that were incredible. And remember, Alabama was one of the highest power rated teams in the country. The stretch that they've played in the last 3 weeks with the 3 wins that they've been able to rattle up, Georgia, Vandy, and Mizzou, that's impressive. Now you get Tennessee, another chance to kind of show your muscles a little bit. I know the question is, should you bet Indiana? No, I'd rather bet a team like Alabama or Miami. Like Miami and Indiana are both around 850, 9-1. I'd rather have the U, Bear. Sorry, that's the truth.
Well, the good thing about that is we don't have to worry about betting Miami at 859-1, being that we've got them at 25, 27-1 and much better numbers. And that people, I know Big Ten people are going to hate us for this or hate me for it. I'm already getting incoming on Twitter because of it. Like, it's like the top of the Big Ten, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. It's like they're playing a completely different sport in terms of scheduling. Like, if you look at Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, the 3 of them have combined for 4 ranked opponents on their entire schedule, not including future games that they have, like Oregon against USC, who is ranked right now. Alabama on its schedule alone has 6. Like, to say the rigor of what Alabama, Georgia, those SEC teams go through. And look, it could rotate in a couple of years, and maybe the Big Ten gets deeper, and the way the top Big Ten teams, their schedule maybe gets a little bit tougher. But right now, like, this is the stuff that we talk about come college football playoff selection time. Like, how a 9-3 could be better in terms of more difficult to achieve than 11-1. You could have Nebraska wind up at 11-1. Not have a single win over a ranked opponent, and have a loss to Michigan, who was ranked at the time, and now they're not. They could be 11-1 with like the worst resume like ever, and then like you have a team maybe like Georgia or Alabama that's got 2 or 3 losses that people are going to like. People will say, "Oh, put the 11-1." Like, it's not even close. It's not even a discussion. So like the biggest thing about these super conferences and conference expansion is just how schedule dependent the sport is, and you really need to dive in. If you don't have an idea statistically of like schedule adjusted, like I always, when I look at like statistical splits and such like that, I always like drilling it down to what you're doing against Power 4 teams or ranked currently, like stuff like that, just to get a better idea of how strong you are. So like, it's going to be interesting to see moving forward how teams like Alabama and Georgia and teams like that are. By the way, speaking of Georgia, I don't know if they're a national title contender or not, guys. And I know all people want to talk about is the officiating in that game. But as Gorilla Monsoon used to like to say, they've got the intestinal fortitude. Second half, I think Auburn's drives went for like 7, -2, 4, 6, and like 20 yards. Like the defense in the second half for Georgia lately has been great. And now they get an opportunity this week at home for a bit of revenge on an Ole Miss team, which kind of struggled last week a little bit more than I think even we thought they would.
Yes. I mean, when they don't give Auburn a touchdown to end the first half, kind of sucks to be Auburn. I mean, that's 2 games so far this season, right, Bear? Against Oklahoma, when Oklahoma was given a touchdown in a legal play. And I don't know, looked like he crossed the goal line. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Georgia fans disagree with me there. But Georgia keeps finding a way, which is good for them. But Auburn seemed like they just died after that happened. There was nothing left in the tank. They got up 17-0. They get that called back, and all of a sudden, that was it for them. By the way, the ranked thing is going to change next week, Bear. Like Illinois, Washington, Michigan, I mean, they could be ranked all next week, and then all of a sudden the ranked opponents come back for the Big Ten teams. But I was on Auburn. I think we might have all been on Auburn in that game by the end of it. But it was I thought Auburn was the right side until they weren't, guys.
Yeah, I thought they had a chance to win, but the second half adjustments for Kirby Smart, to your point, Bear, he is a wizard at going into that locker room and figuring out what teams did well in the first half and then just ironing it out for half number 2. He took away everything they did well in the third and fourth quarter. Very impressive adjustments by Kirby Smart, but that's what you expect with a Kirby Smart team.
And you're right, Geoff, about the rankings certainly will change. It's just a snapshot in time. That's why you reassess in this sport every single week. And we reassess, I think, something in the Big Ten that we thought going into like who these playoff teams are going to be. I think most people thought last week maybe Michigan could potentially be that fourth playoff team from the Big Ten. I brought up Nebraska. Like, is USC potentially that fourth team from the playoff from the Big Ten if you assume that Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon are in? USC, a tough game this week coming up at Notre Dame. We know about the cross-country travel, but if we're looking for a fourth playoff team from the Big Ten, and you had to make a bet right now, would you say SC slight edge over Michigan and Nebraska?
It's a very simple question. Do you think USC is going to win this weekend or not? If they're going to win this weekend, you bet them to make the playoff because their schedule sets up to where they can probably be 10-2 with a win at Notre Dame. And they go beat Oregon, certainly at Oregon, and they're certainly in. But they have Notre Dame, they have Nebraska at Nebraska, so back to back. I think they have a bye week in between those. If they face an Iowa team that's always going to be fighting the Bruins, they finished with UCLA, who's not going to be easy out the way they're playing right now. But Bear, if you think they're going to win this weekend, Sammy, if you think they're going to win this weekend, it's time to bet USC right now to make the playoff.
I wish their running back wasn't hurt, man. That's a huge loss for them. I know that odds makers say running backs aren't worth a ton. That kid at USC is worth a lot. So that was a tough loss for that. Notre Dame is quietly just playing great football. And I was laughing because as you guys know, I went to Illinois. I was locked into Illinois Twitter, very upset that Notre Dame is ranked higher in the polls and Illinois is not ranked in the top 25. Oh, we only have one. Shut up. Notre Dame has 2 losses to arguably top 5 teams maybe at the end of the day. I think A&M is clearly a top 10 team right now, but losses to Miami and A&M by a very small margin, Bear. Those are not bad losses. Notre Dame I have is the 5th best team in the country right now from a number standpoint.
And their defense has gotten a lot better, by the way. Like that's been the huge difference in it. Their offense has been good, but their defense, 13 to Arkansas, then 7-7 the last 2 weeks. They're figuring stuff out there on defense.
And CJ Bailey's a really good quarterback. He's going to be someone that
CJ Carr.
No. I'm talking about NC State. CJ Bailey's a really good quarterback who a lot of people are going to be coming to look for in the portal next year. 3 picks, season low in passing yardage. So yeah, they definitely did their job. It is interesting because I think have we seen what's their updated price to make the playoff? Are they still kind of a toss up, or is yes becoming more and more of a favorite? Because that was something that a couple of weeks back we were just kind of talking about. Like you look at the schedule, and it appears like the Irish are headed towards 10-2, and I think certainly if they win this week. I know that game at Pitt could be a little tricky, and Miami's got to go to Pitt and late in November, and that could be bad weather and whatever else. But it does look like 10-2 is a likely landing spot for Notre Dame.
-170 Bear DraftKings to make.
Can I throw something else out there that might upset Geoff?
Yes.
I bet Oregon this morning to miss the playoff of +205. I'm sorry, Geoff. You look at they got the 1 loss already. They got a game at Iowa, which we saw Iowa nearly beat Indiana at Kinnick. They got the game at Washington, and Washington certainly looks better. And they got SC. Like it's a non-zero chance that they could lose 2 of those 3 games. And maybe if you only win, maybe if you win 2 of the 3 and you're sitting there at 10-2 without a really good win, like you're probably in, but like you might be like the last team in. So again, early my guys, so I'm like minus 260 on the yes, +205 on the no. Seemed like a lower than expected number, which seems to lead me to believe that I think the odds makers do indeed think they are vulnerable.
Do you know how many regular season games we've lost in the last 2 years? Just throwing this out there. One. Yeah, just one. Honestly, whatever reaction to this game is kind of funny. Like the last time we lost a regular season game was October 6th, I think, of 2023. We've lost one. I think we'll be fine. But if we're not, I don't know. Then we're not going to. If this does what did to Penn State, it just ruins us. Certainly can happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I think we'll beat USC at home. But if we don't, we're not going to be a playoff team. I mean, it's very simple. I thought we'd be 11-1 with the loss to Penn State, though. And instead, we're 11-1 with the loss to Indiana. So we're sort of right on schedule for what I thought we would be this season.
Which is not a bad loss, losing to Indiana.
No.
I mean, it's not something that you wanted to happen, but there are much worse losses, i.e. UCLA, Northwestern, to bring it full circle. Another bad decision. I know this isn't in the rundown, but Brent Venables, like, terrible idea to start John Mateer, and even worse decision to keep him in the game. Like, we talked about this enough. I mean, he had this bone, just completely unable to do what he was supposed to do. And I remember when he got hurt, and that came out on a Tuesday, I believe, there were books that floated Mateer to 80-1. And there was this huge push over the last 7 days. Well, Mateer's going to play and he's going to be fine. And that number got down to like 10, 12-1 at a couple shops. The Mateer hype was insane. And I feel for the kid because he gave it his best.
Yep.
He clearly wanted to play. I thought that was a horrible idea, though, to rush him back and start him and not bench him. But now you look at the prices on Mateer, 100-1, 100-1, 75, 75. It's a sad fall from grace. It's not his fault, but man, he had no chance against Texas, guys.
And if you look, remember, this was an Oklahoma team last year that started 4-1 and then lost 5 of 7 down the stretch. If you look at the way this is going to shape up, you go to South Carolina now Saturday, and the Gamecocks are frisky enough to be able to pull a small home upset. Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Bama, Missouri, LSU. Like, yeah, if you're holding an Oklahoma under 6.5 season wins ticket right now, you're live. Like there are no games left on this schedule that you can say that they are going to win, especially if Mateer is. I would think he probably took a little bit of a step back health-wise maybe after that game, like playing the way he did. Like only time is going to heal that, and playing a college football game and throwing the ball is probably going to irritate the healing process. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I would think that would kind of slow the process down. And with the remaining games that they have left, like, it would not shock me if they lost 5 out of 6 down the stretch here, and all those bets to make the playoff and season win total over might go up as well, because this is a team that is not done well late in the season under Brent Venables.
It would be quite a fall. And the question then would be, would Oklahoma's job open up if Oklahoma finishes the season that way, Bear?
They're going to be a lot. The dominoes are going to fall in the coaching carousel, because we are not done by any means, because all these jobs openings probably means that coaches from other schools get jobs and those schools open. We haven't even talked about, we talked about North Carolina maybe opening, Florida State, Wisconsin. Good chance that those 3 schools all open. So agent's going to be making a lot of money next couple of months as we head towards the college football coaching carousel getting going in full effect. I wasn't really victim to any bad beats this week. I had 2 losses in the column. Both were rightful losses. Oregon State embarrassed by Wake Forest. By the way, Wake Forest is a terrible offsides call away. They should have beaten Georgia Tech for being like 5-1. Like, Jake Dickerts did a hell of a job there, and then Oregon was just wrong side against Indiana. But if you were the poor soul who had that Jared Goff first touchdown score Sunday night against Kansas City, called back on that penalty, we feel for you. It was the right call. But I love this process, though, Geoff and Sammy. Like, they call it on the field, and then it's like huddle up. It's like you hear Terry McAuley like say, "Yeah, it shouldn't have been a touchdown." Then the NFL like buzzes down and says, "Yeah, we got to have that conference and overturn it." Right call, but the illusion of how it went down wasn't good at all.
So the referee spoke to the pool report after the game, and he said that New York had no say, that New York never buzzed down to him.
Of course they didn't.
That that everyone has different responsibilities. Like his job is to look at the quarterback, and then the head judge looks at someone else and looks at someone else. They got together afterwards and decided they had to figure out how it pieced together. But it was illegal. I mean, that is illegal. So sucks you lost the bet. I just wouldn't have a quarterback take a fourth, was it 4th and 1 at that point? Just run the football, do something else, Sammy. Tough beat, but also, I don't know. I don't think you expected Jared Goff to have the first touchdown pass as a receiving target either.
I did feel for Handsome Hank, though. That's tough. I mean, he made a $150 bet to win 13 smacks. That's a bad beat for him. I'm not saying that it was the wrong call to bring it back. Imagine, though, and they showed the video. Big Cat posted the video. They're watching the game as they're taping the podcast, and he thinks he won. And then Big Cat goes, "There's a flag." And Hank's like, "No, don't do it to me." And then the look on his face, we've all been there. Right call, still a bad beat, though, Bear.
Yeah, and we feel for him. But like I said, we've all been there, and we'll be there again. That's for sure. There are more of these, and there are ones that actually come through. So coming through in terms of lines that we're looking ahead to this week, have not made plays on either of these games, but they're numbers that I'm just curious to see which way they go. You got unranked Duke, 2.5-point favorite at home against undefeated Georgia Tech. Duke had the turnover-filled loss against Illinois, lost to a good Tulane team. Mensa has gotten going in great form the last couple of weeks, including that win at Cal last week. Georgia Tech and Haynes King undefeated. Now you're a slight road dog. Curious to see if this number comes down some, or if they are kind of willing to let everybody come in here and take Georgia Tech at 2.5, or maybe this goes to 3. We'll see. But that number indicates to me that Duke is probably the right side. So we'll see where it goes the rest of the way. And then the Holy War, where Big Noon Kickoff will be this week. Utah, I think now is out to -3.5 against an undefeated BYU team. BYU again flirted with disaster. Got an overtime win at Arizona. Nice comeback there to keep their undefeated mark. But the fact Utah now north of 3 on the road, that leads me to believe that the Utes are the right side here.
I've got 2, just like you do, Bear. Again, didn't bet these. Just curious to see how they move throughout the week. LSU opened to pick 'em against Vanderbilt at Circa. That number's now 2.5, basically everywhere. And I can assure you there will be people that would be more than excited to bet LSU 3 or higher, depending on where that's going to move to. LSU 10th in the country, potentially catching a field goal or more. That'll be interesting. And then Oregon Rutgers, excuse me. Oregon was 15.5 this morning when we were doing bet sweats. It's now 17.5. I see an 18. Geoff, you think the public's going to bet Oregon to bounce back or what?
Probably. I would imagine so, but this is just a really tough spot. I'd be glad with a 1-point win this weekend in New Jersey. You got to travel across the country. Rutgers has an extra day of rest. They played Friday night. You're off that emotional home loss. Like I don't care what we do in this game. I think 17.5 is a lot of points in this game. That feels like a lot. Rutgers offense is okay. Their defense stinks. We get that, but we've only scored 3 touchdowns the last 8 quarters on offense. So our offense is scuffing a little bit. That feels like this is going to be a tough game to cover. I'm with you, Sammy. I won't bet Rutgers, but I agree with you there. The one I'm eyeing so far, Michigan's hosting Washington. Last we saw of Michigan, they're getting beaten by USC and didn't play terribly well. This was 10.5. It's now 5.5. It's early game. It's at noon Eastern. It's that 9 Pacific body clock game. We've seen a lot of the teams that come out west start really slow in these games. I don't think Michigan's as bad as they played on Saturday. Washington, if you stop Williams from doing his thing, Washington's offense kind of comes to a crumbling halt, guys. So I'm looking at Michigan here. The other one too, Purdue's getting 3 points at Northwestern. I like Purdue +3 in that game.
It feels like, Sammy, that Michigan will probably hit 6 at some point just because of that whole west coming east type of deal, East Coast time zone, early kick. Feels like Michigan ultimately will hit 6, don't you think?
Yeah, potentially. It did. Let's see. Circa opened it at 6, and now it's actually 5.5, 5, and there's a 4.5 at Chris. So look, it's early in the week. When limits get bigger, the true story will come out. We have no idea where they're going to go. I have a feeling, though, when it does bottom out on Michigan, you will see some Wolverine support for sure to get it back.
We'll see. We'll see what else the week has in store for us. One more thing quickly on we were talking about the bad beat with the Lions and that Chiefs game. Kind of felt like a Super Bowl preview last night. No, I think the obituary on the Chiefs being written is probably a little bit premature. Don't you think, Geoff?
They rush the passer like that. If they can't, they're going to lose to Buffalo in the playoffs. I mean, that showed the ability to do that the entire season. That was great. It was good. Their offense is going to be fine. Rashee Rice back in the building today. Lions, still some issues, Bear, on defense. Need everyone to come back healthy as soon as possible.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully they can get some of those guys back on like last year where the defense was just riddled by injuries, and it ultimately did them in the playoffs. So that's all we got for this week. Hopefully you learned a little something, or you got agitated over something, or inspired by something, or whatever. We're here to stir the pot. So appreciate everybody again for watching on YouTube, listening wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever else it might be. Rate, review, subscribe. For Sammy, for Geoff, we'll be back on Thursday. Bless you bet. More you lose when you win.